What up, everybody? It's called Nerdy Core. Back again with another video. This one's going to be another collection video. This one we're going to be looking at my original Xbox collection. So just three quick things before we start. First off, I'd like to thank everybody for the support on the channel. The support for this channel has been amazing so far. My goal was for us to reach 100 subs by the end of the year, and so far as the standing of the making of this video, we're at 110 or 111, which is amazing. It's already past the goal, so I really appreciate that. And secondly, sorry for how long it's been since I posted last. I'm currently in the exam period of university, so it's been a little stressful and there's been a lot of work for me to do. So I haven't really had as much time to dedicate towards YouTube, but I am basically done now, so I should be back to at least one video a week. And thirdly, as I mentioned in my other previous collection videos, I said I wasn't going to do any other collections, but after doing my top 5 consoles, I talked on the original Xbox and the Xbox 360 for a little bit, so I figured it made sense to make a video on why those consoles were on my list, which is one of the main points is the game library, so specifically the ones I have. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. Alright, first up is American Chopper 2 Full Throttle. This is a game adaptation of a TV show. I don't know if it's still on, but it was on in the early 2000s. It was basically a Harley Davidson custom shop reality TV show type thing, and it followed a family that owned a bike shop. It's an okay game. It's a movie or TV adaptation, so it kind of follows the same thing as movie adaptations of not being that great. So next up is AMP 2. This is one of the ones that comes with the Xbox when you originally get it. So AMP 2 is a snowboarding game, and I think is actually a pretty solid snowboarding game. I'm a big fan of all like the SSX, even like the Shaun White snowboarding, all the Tony Hawk games, all the snowboard and skateboard games I'm a big fan of. And AMP 2, especially AMP 3, is one of my favorites. So this is one that's actually a good system seller for the console, I think. Next up is Army Men Sarge's War. When I was little, I was into Army Men a lot, so I had like boxes of the plastic Army Men. So any other game involved with Army Men I had to get. This one's a third-person shooter, so it's actually pretty good. The inside's just the same. What I remember about this the most is the campaign's kind of hard actually, and the multiplayer is actually pretty fun. It kind of resembles the old school 007 games, but just in third person. So next up is Codename Kid Next Door Operation Video Game. So this was one I got specifically because when I was little I was into this show. So I think if I remember correctly, the plot of this show is that they have like a big ass treehouse, and it kind of operates as their base of operation, and like these certain bad guys that are always the same, but there's like a couple different ones try to, I don't know, I think it's destroy the world or something, or they always try to cause mischief and they kind of stop them, and they all have their different personalities and abilities and stuff like that. This one's actually not too bad of a game, movie tie-in game. It's like an action platformer in third person, so it's not too bad. So next up is Crash Tag Team Racing. This, in my opinion, is one of the best kart racing games I've ever played. So what makes this different about any other game compared to any other game in the kart racing genre is that the merging. So basically when you're riding along the track and you're racing, and say somebody's in front of you or somebody's about to pass you, you can almost make your car clip into their car, and then you merge to form, one of you will take the turret position, one of you will drive. So you can kind of form a mini alliance throughout the race, and then break off of them when you see your opportunity to get ahead. So it adds a new element to the game. It also has battle mode, which is pretty fun. And there's also a adventure story mode, which kind of, you unlock more carts and upgrades in certain areas based on like it's like an amusement park style story thing, which has different missions, and it's actually really fun. So next up is one of my more recent pickups, and that's Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball. This game I think it was $4. I visited Alberta and went to the West Edmonton Mall, so I hit up I game store that was in there, and I saw this for $4. I was always interested because I'm a big into sports games, especially like the arcadey ones. And this one's, I think, one of the only volleyball games actually I've ever made. And it's actually pretty fun. It's a hard learning curve for some reason. Like it's pretty hard to get because there's a lot of you have to, if you tap the ball, it will only do like a soft little touch. You have to tap the ball a certain hardness to get it to certain spots on the court. There's a lot of aiming and stuff like that. So it's actually a lot of fun. I actually have been enjoying it. So next up is Fable. This is one of the exclusives for the console. Oh, and Dead or Alive is exclusive as well. This one is pretty good. This was a third-person hack-and-slash RPG. I only got about halfway into this before I think I ended up playing something else. I can't remember what it was. But what I remember, it was pretty good. I think I went with... I was just standard two-hander. So that's the experience I had with the game. It was pretty fun. So next up is Lego Star Wars the video game. These ones were awesome when I was a kid. I'm a big Star Wars fan. As you'll see later, like basically half of my games are Star Wars related games. The Lego games I always love. They're just funny adaptations, and they're done really well of the story, so that loosely follows a story in its own way, and each character has like their own different little like animations and stuff like that, and it's just really funny, and it's like a good pick up and play, kill some time type game. It's a lot of fun. So next up is Medal of Honor European Assault. As I said in my game consoles, my top 5 game consoles video, Medal of Honor is one of my favorite games for the console, especially European Assault. I think it's one of the best first-person shooter franchises that it's definitely fallen off since it was picked up by DICE, because it lost the vibe of Medal of Honor. It just turned into another Battlefield clone. But these ones are awesome, especially European Assault. I think is my favorite because they have a squad-based system. So basically, you'll have 3 guys on your team, and you can give them commands of where to go. They can heal. You can heal them. They can heal you. And they actually do stuff. It's not like in other games where you have a squad like Call of Duty. They'll just sit there. You can see them shooting, but they're not actually killing anything. And this one they actually do a lot. So, and the story is actually pretty interesting. If it's in I think World War II. So next up is Midtown Madness 3. This, in my opinion, is one of the best exclusives for the console that I've played. It's a really good racing game, very arcadey, and each of them has a very different look and very different types of races and cars you can unlock through them. So there's like 2 different separate campaigns. There's a lot of different varieties in the game mode. So there's like your standard races, there's your checkpoint races, there's your time trial races. There's ones where you like pick up and taxi around certain people, and they want to see either like high flying type of driving, fast pace. They might want to slow drive for a bit. They want a lot of drifts. So there's a lot of different ways to play it, and there's also a really fun open world sandbox mode where you can just like run away from the police. So next up is NBA Jam. As I said before, arcade sports games, one of my favorite, and this generation of consoles, this and the PS2 and the GameCube, have some of the best, and I think the best, arcade sports games. I think this is when this genre was at its peak. NBA Jam is one of the best, at least for the basketball franchise. It's high-paced action, 3-on-3. The main thing with these games is the like on fire and the dunking. So basically you build up, I think it's called Game Breaker, if I'm not... No, Game Breaker is the street version. I can't remember what it is in this. It might be Game Breakers, but you build up your hotspots, and then you go off the hotspot, which is like at the 3-point line, and they'll do some like crazy dunk off of it, and it'll get you points. And the more Game Breakers you get, the higher the point value is. So eventually you can get like a 7-point dunk or whatever. There's a lot of different game modes in that game. It's pretty fun. So next up is Simpsons Hit Run. This game's awesome. There's 2 main Simpsons games on the console that I have. There's this one and the next one I'm going to talk about. This one's more like a RPG style of game, so it follows as a story. You play different chapters which have different specific characters. So the first one you're playing is Homer. I think the next one you're Lisa or Bart, and then it's Marge, and then I think Apu has a storyline as well. I think he's like the 6th one. So each of them have different stories, different maps, tons of vehicles to unlock. All the missions and races are very different. You can even go out on foot. You can just kind of mess around. This is a really good game for the console and one I would definitely recommend. So next up is the other Simpson game I have, which is Road Rage. This one's more of a standard car game in that you can't get out of your vehicles. It's not an RPG. But this one has a different thing where it's kind of like the Crazy Taxi games, where you play is basically you're taxiing around people. So basically the story in this is that Mr. Burns made these nuclear powered buses, and to combat them, some of the people in Springfield make their own taxi service and kind of drive around people. So basically this gameplay is like you go around, you pick somebody up, they'll tell you a destination on the map. You go to the map in a certain amount of time. Some people want like to see you run over shit on the way. Some people want you to avoid hitting stuff. So there's a different variety in it, and there's a lot of different levels and characters you can unlock. The best thing with these games is seeing all the interactions between the characters, because they're all voiced, I think, by the actual people who voice them, because they all sound exactly how they sound in the show, and they all interact and have the personalities of the show. So on that thing, it's a pretty good game. So next up is Shattered Union. This is a turn-based, like kind of grid-based style of game. It kind of has the almost Total War-esque campaign map, where you kind of control a territory and you build up an economy, build up your units, and then attack people based on whatever tile you're on. And then the combat's a grid style, very big. And it takes a while for the games to go by, especially if you have big armies. That those matches can last for a while. It's pretty good. I'm not huge into the grid base, but from time to time it's okay to play. Alright, so next up is SSX Tricky. If you watched any of my other videos, you know that SSX is my favorite franchise of all time. And for good reason. It's a very fun, fast-paced snowboarding game that mainly focuses on two events in this, which is the freestyle, which is the do many tricks as you can, get a certain score, and the races. So most people, when it comes to the XSS franchise, either say this one or 3 are the best. In my opinion, 3 is the best, but Tricky is a very close second. It's an amazing game. The one thing I think this game does better than 3, though, is the map variation. I think this game has the best maps in the game, and also the leveling up's a lot better, because you have to actually beat the events to level up. You can't just level up based on the amount of money you saved up, so it's a lot harder to level up, and it feels more rewarding when you beat the whole thing. I've only gone through this game once, though. I beat it as Elise once. Alright, so next up is NFL Street 2. Again, another arcade sports game, is my favorite. And this one is probably my favorite on the console. This game's amazing. If you like football at all, and you like anything sort of arcadey sports wise, this is a must-have. This game's amazing. It's very fast-paced. The gameplay is really good. If you played any like the Madden games, it's kind of like that, but you can like run on walls. You can do crazy spin moves. The hits are harder. There's like turbo boost. There's game breakers where you gain like powers throughout the game, and there's a ton of different game modes. So there's like an Own the City like campaign mode where you make your one character, you level up your one character, and then you kind of pick up people to play on your team through pickup events that you win, and then you face other teams like that. Or you can create your full out team and then take on NFL teams and level up with them. So there's a lot to do in the game, and it's really fun. So that's one I would definitely recommend. So now we get on to the Star Wars games. So first up, Star Wars Battlefront. This is the original. In my opinion, actually, this is a kind of controversial opinion, I guess, is that I like Battlefront 1 better than Battlefront 2. Most people like Battlefront 2. The main reasons for people liking Battlefront 2 is that you can sprint, and the Galactic Conquest is better. In my opinion, though, the reason I like this, I like the maps better. I think there's some maps in this that are either not as good in the second game, or some that are missing from the second game. The other thing is, it's harder. Battlefront 2 is just way too easy when you're playing against the bots in campaign and stuff like that, which is what I like to do. In this game, the difficulty on some maps for some factions or this game in general is really hard actually. So it's a lot more fun for me to play. And for any who don't know, these are like first-person shooter types of games where you capture like command posts and then they act as like your spawn locations. I think there's 5 or 6 major classes. I can't remember all. There's like rifle, sniper, rocket launcher, light machine gun, healer, which has like a grenade launcher or shotgun. So these games are really good. I would definitely recommend picking them up if you don't have them. So next up is Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith. This is a movie adaptation game. So this directly follows the 3rd movie in the franchise. This game's actually alright. The one thing I will give to this game is the lightsaber combat. It's really fun actually. Even against like the droids or something like that, it's just fun to hack and slash your way through them. Feels really good. And also this game has a really cool duel mode where you kind of pick one of I think there's like 7 or 8 characters, and they all have their different like kind of looks and abilities, and you face off in 1v1 lightsaber combat. That mode's actually really fun. It's a pretty decent game. It's one of the better movie adaptations, especially of Star Wars. Alright, so next up is Star Wars Jedi Outcast. This is the second one, so Jedi Knights 2. So this one is a first-person / third-person shooter, first-person shooter. So this one you can play in first person or third person, and it has a story mode when you follow the main guy's right here. His name's Kyle, and you kind of follow his like, it's almost like a renegade story through the Star Wars universe. It's a really interesting story actually, and the main thing is the combat in this game. It's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of like almost puzzle work you got to do with the maps. This is, I think there's the first one of this, and I think they're kind of the spiritual successor to the Dark Forces game on the PlayStation 1, which has the same Kyle character that you play as. So these games are really good. The main thing I like about these games is there's the arena fighting mode, so you can play against bots or with I think at least one in split screen. Yeah, one in split screen, and you can like fight bots throughout the different maps with lightsabers or guns in different game modes. So that part's a lot of fun. So next up is Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. This is one of the first BioWare games I played, and it was really good. I don't think I ever actually finished this game. I got to the part where you started to get your lightsaber, and just the planet after that is where I got to. So I got decently far in the game, but nowhere near as far as I wanted to, and I want to go back to finish this. I've just never gotten back to it. But what I remember, this plays really well. It's kind of like it's turn-based in a way that you kind of press in your input of what you want to do, and then after a certain amount of time, depending on what move you do, your character will do it, and it kind of has an automated pathing system in the fighting. But it's not exactly turn-based, because if, say, you're doing a faster move that takes less time to actually input, you'll actually get 2 hits off before the next person gets their hit off. So it's actually pretty fun. The combat's pretty hard to get used to if you're not used to the style of combat, but once you get it, it's really fun. And the story and character is actually really good, which BioWare is always known for doing. Alright, so next up is what I think is the most underrated in terms of talked about Star Wars games, which is Republic Commandos. This game is amazing. If you like first-person shooters, which first-person shooters is my favorite genre, this is a must-have. This game's amazing. You can get it on Steam if you only have a PC. I would recommend picking it up there as well. So this one, basically you follow a squad of 4 Republic Commandos, but they're the clone troopers. This is set, I think this is set just as the second movie is going on, so it's in between the second and third movie. The first mission is actually during the Geonosis attack in number 2. So this game's really fun. It's a darker take on the Star Wars universe, which I like. The squad base mechanics are some of the best squad base mechanics I've seen in a game, and the story's pretty good, and the combat's really amazing. The only problem is it's pretty short. You can finish in like 5 hours. So next up is Topspin. This is another game that comes with the system. That's a pretty good tennis game. It's not arcadey in any way. It's going for more of the simulation style. It's worth a play. I got pretty far in it, but I'm not that interested in tennis, to be honest. And then finally we got Worms Fort Under Siege. This, in my opinion, is the best take on the Worms games. I like they did like a 3D view on this one instead. Most of the other Worms games are a 2D style of game. So basically in these games, at least this one, you create forts that have different weapons you can get on them. And then you create your fort and you're trying to protect your main keep and destroy other people's keep at the same time. You have usually 4 or 5 worms. So basically you either try to kill the other team's worms or you try to kill their keep. So it has a lot of strategy to it, and it's a lot of fun to play with friends and stuff like that. Alright, so that sums up my original Xbox collection. It's not the biggest collection, but it's one of my favorite. It's one I always go back to. I'm definitely looking to pick up some more games for this. So if you have any suggestions, let me know in the comments. And thanks you all for watching, and just remember, everybody has some nerdiness at their core.